for South Africa, a collective approach by all parties that represented here have put South Africa first and made sure that the budget is approved. It is now formally confirmed that the proposed increase in value-added tax, VAT, initially tabled in the March budget will not proceed. This outcome is a product of sustained, lawful, and transparent engagement reflecting the constitutional supremacy of Parliament as the final authority on public finances. Importantly, this outcome did not arise from expedience, nor as a concession to pressure or populism, but from a shared commitment across party lines that the working class and the poor and all our people cannot be further burdened in this economic climate. It is a decision firmly rooted in the national interest and in the moral clarity demanded by our Constitution. In line with the constitutional powers entrusted to it, the Standing Committee on Finance adopted a report which, 1, rejected the VAT increase proposal, 2, directed the Minister of Finance to table revised proposals within 30 days. This position has earned the support of a parliamentary majority, providing the democratic and legislative legitimacy for a revised fiscal path, one that keeps the people's interests at heart. Furthermore, parties are committed to a government-led expenditure review in order to maximize efficiencies in government spending. The integrity of this process must be underscored. It was Parliament, not the courts, not unelected bodies that led the resolution. This is a reaffirmation of constitutionalism and a victory for a democratic process. We are alive to the urgency that this process now demands from us to support the passing of the money bills and ensure that they are passed. We call on the Finance and Appropriations Committees in Parliament to move with urgency and ensure that the nation has a budget. All parliamentarians must ensure that we pass the bills and act in accordance with the constitutional mandate. As diverse political parties, we are united in our commitment to fiscal responsibility that is neither detached from reality nor blind to inequality. We are bound by a common principle that budgetary decisions must not deepen the suffering of the poor nor compromise long-term economic development. It is worth noting that the approved budget framework includes important interventions aimed at advancing South Africa's development. These include increased allocations for transport and logistics, infrastructure, support for dam projects to improve long-term water supply, additional funding to strengthen public health care and safety, and resources to support early childhood development. The framework also enables the extension of social relief of distress grant and opens opportunities within the public service, particularly for young people. Together, these measures reflect a shared commitment to a budget that is responsive to the people, promotes inclusive growth, and upholds the principle of fiscal responsibility. We also affirm that fiscal consolidation must not mean austerity for the vulnerable. Alternatives must preserve the social wage and enable inclusive economic growth. Treasury, in collaboration with Parliament, must continue to ensure sound, equitable, and developmental financing. This is not about claiming credit or asserting ideological dominance. It is about taking our role in ensuring that there's a responsibility in governing and defending the foundational values of the democratic project we all serve. We do wish to extend our appreciation to the Minister of Finance and the team at National Treasury for respecting the letter and spirit of parliamentary consultation and for engaging with parties on a bilateral basis. Appreciation to members of Parliament across party lines who conducted themselves with discipline and dedication to the constitutional mandate during this time of the budget impasse. To parties, and we wish to underscore this, to parties who are outside of the government of national unity, who acted with resolve to resolve the impasse in the interest of national unity and the stability of governance. And above all, to the people of South Africa, whose voices, petitions, and unwavering demand for fairness guided our actions and shaped the outcome. We also recognize all participating parties for honoring the ethos of multi-party democracy, respecting differences, embracing collaboration, and placing the country above power. This is a victory for the people and for democratic institutions. This is not a victory for one single party, nor is it about who claims the loudest voice. This is a people's victory. It is a quiet but profound triumph of democratic institutions, as well as that of Parliament acting in an activist nature, which is expected of a democratic Parliament. The withdrawal of the VAT increase, the reaffirmation of parliamentary oversight, including executive role in implementing, and the recalibration of fiscal priorities together represent a democratic maturity that must be defended and deepened. We recommit ourselves to the path of constructive dialogue, to ethical governance, and to ensuring that public resources uplift our people, stimulate inclusive economic growth, and bring us closer to a truly just and prosperous society. As I conclude, the next steps will include the following. A revised finance bill is expected to be tabled in Parliament. The legislative process that follows will be monitored and shaped by the shared developmental priorities, including shared strides towards inclusive economic growth, as expressed in the statement. We will continue to communicate transparently with the public and stand ready across party lines to ensure that the interests of the people remain the center of our fiscal policy and public governance. We end there. At this point, I'd like to call on the Secretary General of the African National Congress to deliver the message on behalf of the ANC.
Thank you, Matlengi, on behalf of all political parties reading that statement. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, viewers at home, and all South Africans, colleagues from different political parties. First and foremost, as the ANC, we recognize that we have entered a period of coalitions at the national government level, which we may characterize as uncharted waters. Before, we used to engage differently with the budget. In the government of national unity and coalition government, we have learned our lessons in relation to how we seek to engage with matters of the budget. We may have performed better in these uncharted waters, approaching the budget as a political tool in the governance of any other country. The budget is key as a political tool to determine stronger governance in different countries. If we had a wealth of experience, we may have approached this differently, meaning negotiations and engagement with political parties among ourselves, with Treasury and Parliament oversight prior the passing of the budget is a new terrain that we all need to learn about and gain as an experience when dealing with this particular matter. We started from 2%, we ended to 0.5%. And in engaging with the budget. We made a submission to the Minister of Finance, like all other parties, after the 2nd of April fiscal framework vote in Parliament. We also held extensive discussions through this month, from the 9th of April, intensive discussions in the past 2 weeks in the same hotel with different political parties, even those who have chosen to go to court, to engage with them on the question of the budget. And that have showcased on our part that we've got a bigger role to play than just political posturing for the country. Even those that went to court, we engaged them. But we did not ask them to get out of court. They did engage, they did raise their views about the budget. And we do appreciate political parties that have come together to pass the budget framework. And these political parties never fudged their views, never fudged their intentions when they agreed to pass the budget. It was very clear that we need to deal and review the VAT increase. And today, after extensive engagement, it has resulted in the Treasury also coming to the party to agree with all of us that VAT review will not be implemented as it was presented before. And we welcome, as the African National Congress, that statement of Treasury. No disruptions, no instability, but the interest of South Africa come first, and of our people. And that is our interest as the African National Congress. Our view throughout these discussions was on defending the expenditure side of the budget in the interest of breaking the austerity cycle. South Africa have been presenting to us austerity budgets, and we seek to break away from that with the presentation of this budget. Without VAT increase, this budget is the most perfect budget in our view, because it addressed the question of growth in terms of the economy. That's one. Two, it cushioned the poor in terms of investing in social expenditure side of the budget. It cushioned us against austerity, which was very much important for the African National Congress. We explained the importance of inflation rate increases in other social security items and the retention of the of the SRD grant. We also pointed out the importance of increased allocations towards frontline services such as education and health to deal with the shortage of teachers and doctors in the public sector. Overall, our viewpoint was that political parties must think of alternatives to the VAT that also sustain the post-austerity cycle reflected in the budget. And this is exactly what has happened, and this is the result that we have actually welcomed here today. What Treasury is telling us is that where will the alternative means come from in terms of the budget? Treasury is addressing that particular point. We need to go backward to reset the button in terms of the budget. We agree with that. Overall, our viewpoint was that we believed then, as we still do, that the minister has the power to initiate and withdraw any changes to the VAT in terms of the VAT Act. Of course, there is a court case that is currently underway, and the courts will decide whether the current wording of Section 7(4) of the VAT Act is constitutional or not, as the DA seeks to suggest. Our approach as the ANC was based on its current interpretation, as granting the minister such powers to initiate or withdraw any changes to tax law by introducing a bill to Parliament. Parliament will then consider such a bill and pass it into law. So this is what we have understood, and we have never understood that this particular process in itself that we have embarked upon, it is a process that is dependent on one political party. It is a process that required conversation among us, And I wish to state as I conclude that the ANC, with all these political parties around here, agreed that we need to persuade, if we are able to find alternative means of funding the budget, the cutting of a VAT increase from the budget. And this week, we concluded those discussions, which started yesterday, and we got a favorable response from the minister that indeed there is a possibility that this could be done, and subsequent to that, a statement was issued to this end. So which means what has happened in terms of this process of engagement have brought us to where we are today, that the VAT increase will be cut from the budget as we reset the budget. I mean, as we reset the button on the budget. So we're very much happy about that process. It basically takes us forward, and it takes South Africa forward. We will engage continuously with political parties with regard to the process of resetting the button on the process of the budget going forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to the SG of the ANC. I will at this point call on Kulego to come on behalf of the Nkatha Freedom Party. He speaks for the organization.
Thank you very much, Ngolosi. Good morning, Sanbonani. Just maybe a few things to say that a budget is a living dynamic, and it will constantly change as circumstances change, as developments actually happen. We started out with a proposal of 2% increase, which we rejected. In fact, we reject any VAT increase, but the circumstances presented to us compelled that 0.5 be considered, and that is the premise upon which we moved. Since that decision of Parliament, which said we've got 30 days given to the minister and the process to relook at the VAT question, this moment has now culminated, wherein a constructive decision has been taken that we will do away with the 0.5 increase. And the circumstances at play are clearly that SARS has collected more money, and because it has collected more money, we are in a position to adjust the budget moving forward. There will also be the medium-term budget policy statement in October, which will further refine the process moving forward. There is urgency in having agility in the budget. But we do want to reject the notion that has been presented by National Treasury in their statement, wherein they say that because of this withdrawal of the VAT, the social security nets will now have to be withdrawn. That is not the outlook we want to embark upon. National Treasury, SARS, and government must continue finding other revenues, streams for income for the budget in order to ensure that we maintain and sustain the social relief packages that are embedded in the budget. This includes the increases to social grants and other related grants. It ensures that the social relief of distress is maintained. It also must ensure that the zero-rated items basket must be expanded in order for the poor to actually continue receiving the relief that they so urgently need. What this moment teaches us, importantly, is that we will have to be a government in constant communication and talking to each other, not past each other. And there is no constructive conversation that's going to take place in a court of law. There is no constructive conversation that is going to reach us at the point of resolving our problems if we continue seeing the kind of big brother syndrome that characterizes some of the behavior that is out there. We believe that we need to return to the negotiating table. We believe that you can't be half pregnant. You can't be in government today and then in opposition tomorrow. Either you are